Hello, Relevant. I hope you're doing well. This is Newbs in Review. Well, we basically take a pause from our week so you can get caught up on what you might miss from the last week in terms of like gaming news and maybe seeing some game reviews as well and stuff like that. So I hope you're all doing well. And yeah, some of the stuff that happened within last week that I've noticed is Sonic Origins got announced, Splatoon 3, Nintendo having workplace issues, and even more video game movies. But first, we'll talk about. But let's hope everyone's having a good day. Got a lot to talk about. Just a lot to talk about in terms of the realm of gaming. So, yeah. Um. Okay. So I don't know if y'all heard, but there's just this new console called Playdate, and it looks like a Game Boy. It has an AB button, a D-pad, it has a crank, but it's black and white. Um, it's so small that it fits within the palm of your hands. It's so unique. It has the AB D-pad. It has Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, USB-C. Even what's really unique, one thing that's unique about it is it has a crank that's a control option for games. And they show it off, like if you go to their website, it shows some demos of how they do it. So cool. Um Pre-orders are available now. It's $178. Just honestly, pretty reasonable for what it is. But what makes it really interesting, besides its display of being high resolution of 400 by 240, um, it has a season system. So once you get it, you'll get 2 games every week for the next 12 weeks, and then for the next that's what they're saying on the website. So you get new games basically essentially every week, which is really cool. Instead of just so it's kind of different. I don't know if it's similar to Game Pass or not. It sounds basically like Game Pass, but I don't know if it's like a streaming service or if it's like you keeping your own type thing. I find that really interesting. Um, you can also make your own games with it too, which is really cool. Really great for indie developers. Um, and apparently they showed off in the video on the trailer is they have a snap-on stereo dock in a pen holder, so you can like just have it on your desk or whatever, or even a cover for your if you want to take it on the go or something like that. So I think that's a really interesting like little console idea. What do y'all think about it? Do y'all think it will be successful? I think it's really interesting. I mean, I think it'll be great depending on how successful it is. I feel like it'd be great for indie companies to indie developers to just expand upon to expand their reach. Yes, this is a totally different platform, but it would be really great for them to experiment new things. So I'm excited. I don't know if I'll be getting it personally, but I like the idea and I want to see where it goes. Yeah, it's called actually I can read off the specs real quick. So they for the battery, they have 14 days standby. So like if for example if it's on docked mode or if it's not in use, the battery lasts 14 days, which is really interesting. It's like a standby clock, which hence is why they have the desk accessories. So you could just use it as a desktop, like a tabletop clock or something like that. If you're using it actively to actually play games, about 8 hours, which I mean that's fair. The CPU is a 168 megahertz Cortex M7. SDK supports Lua C. On the storage, we have 16 megabytes of RAM, 13 kilobytes LO1 cache, and 4 gigabytes of flash. In terms of size, we have 76 by 74 by 9. You have the actual device, the USB-C to A cable, and the user guide. It comes with Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. It has a mono speaker, headphone jack, and what's really surprising is it has a built-in microphone, which I'm kind of curious what they would use that for. Maybe I don't know if it has multiplayer controls, or maybe some actual, like, you maybe using your voice as a mechanic, because I've seen games where they use your voice as a mechanic. I'm just curious to see how this would tie in. The display is 400 by 240. It's 1 bit. The inputs: D-pad, AB, sleep menu, a 3-axis accelerometer, and a crank. $179 plus taxes and shipping. Yeah, I think that's about. Yeah. I'm trying to think, did I miss anything in terms of that? Not really. No. Yeah, I find Playdate really interesting. The name, like when I first saw it, I thought, oh, it sounds like a child playing a game. I mean, obviously, it seems like children can play the game, but it's different. You know, sometimes the name could be different because when I think of the word play, I think of, oh, little children playing with each other, like almost like a play date. Friendships. I won't. I think I'm thinking like that's what the idea of Playdate is. Like maybe there is a multiplayer aspect, and maybe there is a collaborative, like playing together with your friends type thing. Maybe that's what the idea came from. Who knows? Depending on how this goes, I think it'll be really, really successful. At least that's what I think. Now, last actually on 420, which is really surprising, Sonic Origins got announced by Sega on Twitter. It was leaked for a while, but now they came out and said, "Hey, we're coming out with Sonic Origins." And it's a multi-game collection with a bunch of 2D titles remastered for the current generation systems. Sonic, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, and Knuckles, and Sonic CD. And they even came out with a release date, which is really surprising, it's just June 23rd of this year, which is like really, really soon. That's like E3 time. Even though there was no E3 this year, which is really a bummer. So it's like a collection. It has the remastered visuals, added features, new content modes, and a lot more. So it also has like Sonic Mania style animations. So like the little like intros that you get like in Sonic Mania, where it has the little like animated cutscenes at the beginning. Those are brought to each of the games. Which is really, really cool. They have classic. They have 2 different modes, it seems like. Classic and anniversary, which is classic, it's the limited lives. It's normal gameplay with normal resolution. With anniversary mode, you have the infinite lives. You have the full screen display. And I don't remember if there was other changes or not. That I'm just going by what I've saw off the website. They also have missions, coins, and museums, which I'm assuming missions can unlock coins, which can buy stuff in the museum, almost like a collectibles type thing. So I think that's interesting. They also have a music gallery, kind of like what they did with 3D All Stars, where they have a whole selection of tracks. You could just listen to music. And yeah, the platforms are going to be on basically everywhere: PS5, PS4, Xbox Series X and X, and One, Steam, Epic, and Switch. Basically everywhere, except mobile. But I just think that's really cool to have like the classic modern games, like classic Sonic games on the like basically everywhere. I remember growing up, they had whatchamacallit. I grew up with the PS2, and they had the Sonic Mega Collection, I think what it was called. And I remember there was like a lot of the games I wanted to play were locked, so I had to beat some of the other games in order to play some of the other games. But man, playing some of those on the PS2 without a memory card, yes, I did not have a memory card, which is a very, very very difficult. It's like either I have to leave the PS2 on all night or just reset all my progress. Because you gotta love that when it happens. Yeah. Oh, well, speaking of another announcement, Splatoon 3 got announced on Twitter a couple of days later. Well, I wouldn't say it got announced a release date 3 days later. And it says it's not really, I don't really have much in terms of this to discuss, but Splatoon 3 is going to be released on September 9th of this year as well, which is really, really cool. They showed off a gameplay trailer. I couldn't really analyze the trailer since I don't play Splatoon as much, but I'm really excited. I hope I can get it one day, but I can't. I really hope. We'll see one day. Both of those I'm pretty sure pre-orders are available now. Yeah, I'm pretty sure pre-orders are available now for both. So, if you're interested, check those out. Now, just tell me, what games are you thinking about getting, and what do you hope to get from these games? Like Sonic Origins, are you hoping like anything that you didn't like about Sonic that you hope that's fixed? Or, for example, in Splatoon 3, is there something in the current Splatoon game that you don't like that should be fixed? Or what do you hope, any features you want? Something like that. For me, I would say for Splatoon 3, I really hope they have like a free-for-all battle royale mode where like all the squidlings just go 1v1v1, like almost like having a big open map, but almost a big, but like just like a wider map, and just like free for all type thing, like a free for all battle royale mode. You know, maybe you can pick up and start off with one weapon, and maybe I don't know. I don't know how Nintendo. I don't know if Nintendo is a big fan of battle royales. Actually, no. Well, I want to know if they're a fan of like shooter battle royales. I say shooter battle royales because obviously we have Mario 35, rest in peace, Tetris 99, Pac-Man 99, a lot of the old arcade royales. So I find that really, really interesting. Next, speaking of Nintendo, this is gonna be interesting. So y'all know a while back where everyone was talking about the whole Activision Blizzard and the way they were treating their workers and stuff like that. We all know Nintendo's this family-friendly company that does absolutely nothing wrong, right? Well, on April 15th of this year, a worker filed a complaint over worker violations. And some of that includes like corrosive statements like threats, promise of benefits, concerted activities, and stuff like that, discharge, corrective actions. Basically, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on behind the scenes that we are not aware of, obviously, for reasons. It's a Nintendo is aware of this claim, but they didn't notice any attempts to unionize, which is really interesting. They had a statement, and that's just basically what I pulled from the statement. Is basically they didn't notice any attempts to like unionize. It was first reported by Axos, I believe it's how it's pronounced. I don't remember from the top of my head. The workers made around 16 an hour, some even 20 an hour, which is so crazy. Like, you would think someone working at Nintendo would make way more money than that, but apparently that's not the case. Apparently, you're making what, grocery store retail jobs? Them even like I live right by a Buc-ee's, which is basically a big old gas station, and that's basically their prices, their salaries. And I saw another article too that someone worked at Nintendo for 5 years was only considered part time. They didn't even get credited as a part time employee. and not even they didn't even give them opportunity to be promoted, which is so crazy. Like, you think after 5 years, be like, oh, maybe I could be able to promote like be able to be promoted, to higher things. Nope, that's not the case apparently. And apparently, that's not all. So apparently, there's a fear of talking about it with like. Apparently, there's a division between part-time and full-time staff, who they nicknamed Red Badges, and they were afraid like if they punished for being outspoken, like afraid, which I totally get. But the fact that they have to fear about being outspoken, that is so crazy. And there were people at Nintendo were being fired for unionization activities. Like, come on. Nintendo, what are you doing? Like, come on, Nintendo. You've seen how Activision Blizzard went it dealt with those things. You you should learn from that. What doesn't help, however, either is like a whole bunch of third party and repair center companies were overwhelmed the amount of like Joy-Con repairs they've been getting because of the Joy-Con drift. It's so crazy. Like, I feel bad for them having to like getting thousands of like controllers sent in just so they can fix the Joy-Con drift because apparently Nintendo can't fix their own console. So, what do y'all think about this? What do you think? What do you think Nintendo can do to stop this from happening in the future? Obviously, learn. I would say learn from Activision Blizzard. That's the first step. Two, include everybody. Just like make sure this. For me, I want to be able to feel like everyone is heard. You know, I want to be able to feel like everyone is heard and accepted, and included. That's what I would want to do. And just set boundaries and rules, Just make sure like everyone's comfortable with each other, but not too comfortable where it's like where things are getting a little bit too intimate, you know? Going back to the idea of Nintendo, at least this one is a little bit more upbeat, I should say. But the Pokemon Company actually acquired the printing company, Millennium Print Group, for their card game, the Pokemon, the trading card game. Millennium Print Group, they said in a statement that they will continue to operate as a separate organization, but they will basically that they will become the official printer for Pokemon cards. But it says in a statement they'll continue to operate as a separate autonomous organization, but will gain both an investment and an industry expertise from the Pokemon Company International. So they would get like basically they would still work with the Pokemon Company, but they're still their own entity per se. I just find it really interesting that it took them this long to own something like that. Like you would think they would have done it a lot sooner, especially when they reached the peak. I guess I'm assuming it's been in the works for a while. I don't know. I don't know how it works behind the scenes. To further, and the reason I think they've done this is to further their capabilities, to be able to do more, them to change up the infrastructure, in the scale to become a premier printer of trading cards, like I mentioned earlier, and serving the broad, basically, the in the to serve the broader industry. Or at least that's what it says. That's what I copy pasted from my notes. Um, it wants to become like basically like I mentioned the official Pokemon printing company for Pokemon cards. And they basically want to expand and serve more people. And I think in the end, Pokemon Company thinks this is the best way to do it, is actually acquiring it, you know, which makes sense. Especially since there was a increased Pokemon cards bought during pandemic, forcing a lot of like Pokemon card buying limitations from stores, even McDonald's. When they brought the promotion to McDonald's for a little bit with the Happy Meals, it's because the supply, um, the amount of there was a very limited supply, lagging behind band. It's like low, limited supply, but there was a high demand of Pokemon cards. So gotta catch up somehow, you know? Gotta catch up somehow. Well, in terms of movies and TV shows, because yes, apparently gaming movies are becoming a thing. Um, for a while, there's a Minecraft movie that's been in the works for basically since 2014, which is so interesting to think. But apparently, recently they announced. I don't know if they announced, but they. I'm just gonna say announced. They announced that Jason Momoa, who starred in Aquaman and Dune, is casted in the movie. I don't think they mentioned who yet or what. I just know he got casted, and Jared Hess is the director, which is so it's just so interesting to think about. Um, yeah, it's just so interesting to think about. Like after in 2011, over 100 million players played after, right basically after launch in 2011. Just so interesting, considering a very simple game. Just go around, break blocks, build stuff, and try to survive. Or just now, it's been in development since 2014. Warner Brothers and Mojang are working together in this project, but there is no set release date. I'm just curious to know what will be the plot of the movie, because typically there's not really a plot in Minecraft other than just trying to survive. And it's not really in game either. They only added the Ender Dragon as the final boss because they needed because a lot of people wanted it into the game. So I'm just curious to know how all that would work. Speaking of um, movies, let's say in the movie side, we apparently Netflix announced that there's going to be Exploding Kittens as a series on Netflix. It's going to be an adult animated comedy. And yes, this is based off the card game. It's an adult animated comedy, and it's coming in 2023. And it's starring Tom Ellis, Abraham Lim, Lucy Liu, Ali Mackey, Mark Prochek, and Sashir Zamata. Apparently, they even give apparently there was like a little plot line too, where it's like there's this idea of heaven and hell, and but the god and devil was sent to Earth as cats. Apparently, I don't remember all the exact details on the top of my mind, but I just think that's really interesting. There's a mobile game coming in May, and apparently future card and game mechanics will be themed around the animated series. So they're going to continue as the series expand more and more of these ideas. More as the series expands, so will the card game in that sense. You know. Future card games and mechanics will be themed around the animated series, so friends and family can play with their favorite characters and bring the show to life. Now, I'm just curious, what do you think about the Exploding Kittens as an adult animated series? Do you think? I don't know, just thinking like their friends and families. Thinking of the word family. but it's an adult animated series. So I'm just curious how they're gonna work that in. It's gonna be like Sausage Party type adult, or is it gonna be more of like Adult Swim type thing? I don't know. That's just me though. That's the news that we have for. That's the noobs we have for today. However, we do have our review coming up, which this week we're talking about Nintendo Switch Sports coming here in a couple of days, actually, as of this live. April 29th. It has a variety of sports games. It's a sequel of Wii Sports, but it's the Switch. It has soccer, volleyball, throwing, tennis, badminton, and sword play. Chambara, which is sword play. It has very easy controls to get started. It's just like most like pick up and play type thing. It's not too hard to learn, at least what. And that's going to be a golf update later in the fall. There's going to be a couple of updates to add some new features. It's a lot of motion controls, but I'm not sure if it's just motion controls or there's also an option for buttons. I am not sure. One thing I've noticed is different is I think there's online multiplayer. There is online multiplayer, but I don't remember if it's part of the Wii one or not. Mii's do make a return, but they also have a new style too. Not just Mii's, like a new avatar style, which is really interesting. It's a switch, and then there's also a leg strap, which is only for like a couple of games. They're going to add more games to support it later this year. And there's even a ranked mode for online. Me personally, I think it's really interesting that they're bringing it to the Switch. But the fact that I don't know, the leg strap makes it confusing, especially if you already have something like a ring fit already. I don't know, that's just me. The fact, I don't know, and this is also just me, but it doesn't have all the sports or from Resort or Wii Sports. If they were going to like a Wii Sports collection or something like that, I think that would be fun. Because for me, like I don't have a Wii, so I can't play Resort or I can't play Wii, like regular Wii Sports. But they do have the basics, like they have sword play, which is it's fun, bowling. Um, but I wish they have like all the games. They maybe start off with a few, and then even if they add them on later on, maybe there might still be added. I don't know. Who knows? So I don't have the game currently, obviously, because the game hasn't came out yet, and I don't have a test copy. Overall, I think people are pretty hyped about it. So I'll probably, from what I know, I would say I would give the game a solid, probably 7.5, 8 out of 10. It's hard to like give it its full score without actually playing it first. That's probably gonna be the thing with all these reviews I do. Just like either a lot of them I've played or some of them I'm reviewing prior to it to release. It's just one of the things I testing around. But yeah, that's it for Noobs in Review. I really appreciate y'all being here. Stay tuned next week where we'll cover a lot more interesting news and cover and review a game. Yeah, I hope you have a great day and take care.